read the public notice here?
I think you're posted.
What you're saying is I have to find the public hearing notice in this.
Do I have to read it or can you?
It doesn't matter.
All right, good.
I mean, it's ridiculous regulation, but I think it happens.
Thank you for keeping us.
It's on the board out there if you'd like me to grab it.
I might need it.
And you're not supposed to take stuff out the bulletin board even if you want to come here.
Do not have it in the,
I don't know why.
Just take that stuff out the bulletin board. That's what I just said, don't just do anything to it.
we'll replace it promptly. Richard did not print the public hearing notice. We did post it on the bulletin board. Please post a public hearing notice. Please post a public hearing for the Board of Health for Thursday, September 21st, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the Veterans Room. The hearing will be to adopt regulations specifically, Chapter 2, storage and disposal of solid waste. We also posted it in the newspaper and confirmed that it did get published first week of September. And I do want to point out that there is no obligation on the Board of Health to hold a hearing, but the board, rightfully so, requested a hearing for the adoption of these regulations.
So,
So the board and I have sat down on many occasions, beat this thing around, came up with a solid draft regulation for the disposal of solid waste. The regulation encompasses curbside collection, commercial collection, hauler regulations. It starts with some general regulations regarding illegal dumping, littering, putting penalties on littering. I sent the draft regulations to Mr. Caprera, our attorney, and he got back to me this week with changes. I emailed you. He and I sat down and discussed it today and agreed to some of the changes, didn't agree to some of the changes. I emailed you the final tract changes. And we can discuss the tract changes if you wish. There was a significant change. It was mostly just legalese, changing the words, violations from, I forget the word I originally used, but it was to change to the word violation because that's in keeping with the Mass General Law that gave us the authority to adopt it. A major change is under the hauler section.
what section? Oh, which number?
Let me find it. I can find that section.
Maybe was that in regards to that letter that we received?
Yes, it came in regards to the letter, and a couple of haulers called me up and said, I'm not sure the Board of Health has the authority to regulate commerce and trade as far as setting fees. Where can I find this thing?
It's,
7.
This track is all in section 7, right?
yes.
The number of times I've written it, you'd think I would.
Section 7.
Turn it up to dates. Ah,
I don't know what you're on.
specifically, 721. Any person or entity contracting to collect residential trash or waste in the town of Southgate must supply recycling services at no additional cost. So essentially, we are telling haulers that they must charge $0 for a service that they provide.
You can't do that.
I do not believe we can do that, but by rewording it to the way I tracked it, any person or entity contracting residential customers or generators must offer bundled services, it's providing customers with solid waste and recyclables collection at a rate that reflects the cost of providing both services. What this essentially does is, for purposes of the board, it allows that there's going to be one cost to the consumer for both services. What it does to alleviate us controlling commerce and trade, they can charge whatever they want for recycling, they can charge whatever they want for solid waste, but they have to charge it as a package. So we reworded this and came up with this language. Mr. Caprera approved the language as addressing the problem at hand. This is the only major change Mr. Caprera and I made. Our other changes were small. Our other changes were small, legal type changes, which you can obviously follow. This schedule wants to go, a couple of typing errors that I messed up. Changing the words offense to violation, because that's in keeping with the Mass General Law. Offense, violation. And then at the very end, we added a paragraph, because sometimes I called it owner, sometimes I called it owners, sometimes I might have said his, sometimes I might have said hers. So very common legal language. Section 11 was added to the end of the document saying gender, singular, plural. Any reference to male gender shall constitute a reference to female gender, and vice versa, unless the context so prohibits this construction. Any reference to singular shall constitute a reference to plural, and vice versa, unless the context so prohibits this construction. Very general, common legal language at the end of the document. Those are the only changes from that which we approved at the last meeting.
Okay. Access to this document was provided to the public.
We posted it on the webpage. We posted a notice in the newspaper that said that this would be available in the Board of Health office. And we ran, I believe we ran something on cable access.
Okay.
So, again, the hearing is not required under chapter 111, section 31.
Thank you.
We advertised it as best we could and bring the hearing forward. I present one set of comments that came in on as written. If I may, this is from Mr. Gus Steves, the town councilor. Since I cannot attend tonight's hearing due to a schedule conflict,
Which I am obviously here.
Okay, this is.
would you prefer me
You
to
wanna-
read
wanna
this or would
read
you like to
it?
present?
It doesn't matter.
Would you like to just, since you know what your concerns
I
are?
can say it.
If you can sum it up in shorter words and I could read it, I would appreciate it,
Well,
but I will read
I was
it.
writing it up expecting not to be here, but obviously, so,
It was submitted as in writing, so I have to read it unless you give me,
unless I read it.
unless you paraphrase.
Right, that's fine. So what I was thinking, as a bunch, I just went through the document and read it and just wanted to point out a few things that I thought were interesting that you might want to consider. Section 3, I was thinking that recycling material should include food waste and other compostable material, among other things because state law defines food waste as not being, you can't throw it in the trash. And certain commercial entities are required to compost already anyway. So I thought I wanted to throw that in there, and I also mentioned that in passing in the sections both for residential and for commercial. Because I think the phrasing probably needs to be tweaked a little bit differently for both. I think we should be encouraging residential composting, but commercial composting is legally required under some circumstances. I don't know exactly what the limits are, so I was thinking about that. Let's see, one of the things I was also saying that it should have some phrasing that allows us to expand as more items get added to the state waste ban list and/or technology becomes available to recycle things that may be hard to recycle today. Because your list in there is very specific, and other stuff may next year be fairly easily recyclable. We don't know. So I just wanted to throw something in there so we can expand and tweak it a little fairly easily. Also, let's see. You mentioned here specific word ranking. The listing for single polymer plastic should just be more clearly defined by listing the relevant plastic recycling numbers. because most people don't know which ones are single polymers and which ones are combined. That would be probably easier. In section 4, that when referring to the definition of owner in section 3, section 4.1 seems to create a conflict as to which one is responsible for trash collection between the landlord and his agent or the tenant with the lease, because both of them are defined as owners in section 3. So you might want to try to clarify that a little bit. Additionally, you should add the words the owner of after the word business. That's just a little
Can
clarification.
you just go back to that owner?
Sure.
What section?
Okay, the owner is defined in section 3.
Right,
And
Right at the very top of the page, you're right.
right.
right, and section 3 specifically states, what I'm noticing is it seems like it creates a conflict between the definition 2 and definition 3.
Okay,
Okay, because definition 2 says that any individual blah, 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 who has care, charge, or control of any such building structure, blah, blah, blah. And section 3 is a lessee under a written agreement.
okay,
And you go down to section 4, and it says the owner of any commercial business, blah, 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 and the occupant of any other dwelling place shall be responsible for final collection. The problem is with multifamilies, the owner, and the owner may have tenants who are less, who they have leases. Which one is responsible, the owner or the lessee?
okay.
That was one thing to put that in. Also, and one question for clarification is, why do you make the occupant of any other dwelling place, which I read as a single or two family, responsible, but the owner of all of the other categories?
It was in keeping with the state law. The state law, chapter 105 CMR 410, section 600, I believe, or 601. Makes a clear distinction between 1 and 2 families, and 3 families and more. So this is in keeping with the state law.
Okay. Sure. Also, in section 4.2.1, how are you defining other legally accepted methods? Because that's not clarified. I'm assuming that's in CMR somewhere as well.
It is, it's in 601 or 602, same section. Legally acceptable would be within 310 CMR 16, they identify, what 310? They identify what is a legal way to dispose of your trash.
Okay, and also, there's also, your regs don't have the clear definition of what garbage actually is. Although you use both the terms garbage and trash.
I've used the word garbage in here.
You use it a couple of times. One is in section 4.1, collection of garbage and rubbish. And then you use it, I don't know where the other, I don't remember off the hand, but the other one is. But you don't actually define what that is. I mean, I've always interpreted that to mean basically compostables, but I don't know if that's what you mean. Section 5, there's a few specifics. Section 5.2.1 should add, I'm thinking it should add after the word mandatory the following, and composting of food waste is strongly encouraged. Goes back to the composting thing. And to help to implement that, this is just a suggestion. There should be clear tutorials on the website and elsewhere on how to construct and manage compost bins and similar systems. That's not necessarily, that won't necessarily be in the regs, just something to encourage. 5.2.3.1, I was thinking that you mentioned that recycling at this point, you're saying it'll be no more or no less than once a month. I would like to see us increase it to weekly if at all possible. I realize that might not happen immediately. But it should never get to be as infrequent as once a month.
Well, no, I think that was,
They get changed.
that got changed.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah.
The version I have has once.
Because that one, that I do remember, that did get changed.
To what?
What's the section again?
It's 5.2.3.1.
The
The version I have says that.
municipally contracted recycling shall be collected on a schedule determined by the South Bend Board of Health. Keeping it not set at a time on that, because we do not know the financial status of the town, and we are not ready to mandate a contract, or at least I wasn't when I rewrote it. I'm not ready to mandate a contract that requires everyday collection of trash, or every week, recyclables, or every week, because to write that contract and put it up, or to write that bid spec and put it up to bid, I can't possibly anticipate what the cost would be. So if we leave it open, we can at least have the flexibility to work within the financial means of the town in order to accomplish trash pickup.
I can understand the flexibility, I just wanted to say that I think we should be pushing toward it at least once a week. I definitely don't want to see what it originally said, which was once a month. Where was it? Oh yeah, 5.2.3.2 is another, and replace the wording after shall with the following. Shall not be placed earlier than the evening prior to the day of collection, which I think would be fairer for people who either work overnight or morning.
Recycling must be placed at the curb prior to 7 a.m. the day of collection, but shall not be placed earlier than the day of collection. That language was put in there, we actually went back and forth on that significantly.
And that's in reference to the state law, correct?
Right, that is we originally had no earlier than 12 hours before scheduled pickup, which would allow trash to be put out 7 p.m. the night before.
I think that's fair, yeah. 'Cause
It's
there are people that may not
absolutely,
overnight, there are
it's
people
absolutely
that
more
don't
than fair in my
work overnight.
opinion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the state law says specifically day of collection, and we cannot be less strict than the state law. So, am I going to be leaving here tonight and driving the streets to see if anybody has trash put out? No. But in order to keep with the language of the state law, I can't,
Yeah, that's part of the problem, is that
Can't
I cannot
establish
propose,
something and then ignore it. That's the whole talk of, I'm sorry.
that's pretty much what you were just saying.
I cannot propose a law that the language is in conflict with the state law.
No, I know, that's the problem.
That was, Kevin, we went for,
Midnight
I'm
crosswalk, put it
100%,
out.
and that's why I said, don't
When you get
propose
on,
something
look
that
at
you're
the
not
line.
prepared to enforce. But we have the same thing, when the law says one thing and this. So how do you write in our regulation something that violates, this,
You can't
the state
enforce one
laws?
against the other.
That's where we weren't going.
How come we couldn't do that in the home law?
It's bylaw. It's a bylaw. A bylaw can be different than the state. As a matter of fact, that's what
Home rule specifically says a town may write laws based on state law that are stricter. We cannot write laws that are looser.
That is six.
So I think right now, Gus, Gus has quite a list, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of things, and I think some very,
Okay. I was thinking putting similar language into 5.3.2.2 as well.
5.3.
It's recycling contract.
Okay.
One's recycling, one's recycling.
Right.
And also there was a couple of small typos in 5.2.3.3 and 5.3.2.3.
Yeah.
Both of which refer to, they actually are self-referential, but they're mislabeled.
That's going to be good, that's my corrected. So it references back to, I believe it used to reference back to 4.3.2.3.
Exactly.
That's been corrected in the
You could just simply say this subsection. and leave it
track
at that.
changes.
And I like the fact that you clearly state higher recycling container size and effectively have no limit in total quantity for recycling, and like the fact that you limit the quantity of waste being disposed. It might be good to gradually reduce the latter over time, but I'm not sure how that would be accomplished. Because it would require retooling industry to complete the research in town, which is obviously something well beyond yours and mine, done at the pay level. Section 6, I was thinking of adding and disposal after legal storage. This is 6.1.1.
Legal storage.
Yeah, did you find where I'm referring to?
Any business, commercial enterprise, charitable organization, multifamily dwelling exceeding 6 units or other property used other than residential dwelling structures of 6 units or less shall be responsible for proper and legal storage of waste and recycling.
You're saying add,
I wasn't, maybe it doesn't need to be in it, but I was thinking when I was reading through it, just jumped out at me, the legal storage and disposal.
seems
Or
like
is
the
that-
same.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, because this is specific to commercial, so, I mean, storage, Storage disposal really aren't quite the same, but, you know. Also, 6.1.2, I was thinking you should throw in, it's another reference to, clear reference to state food waste bans and composting laws. And section 7, I was thinking just a simple tweaking of the word there. 7.1.3, rephrase expire each December 31st to expire on December 31st. And after initially requested, it's
So,
requested
Mike, what,
point 1.3. Expire each December 31st, expire on December 31st. It just sounds odd.
Yeah.
And add after the initially requested phrase, some sort of reference to prorating the permit fees based on how much of the year remains, because I think that would be fairer to haulers, rather than just a flat fee if they get their permit in October. And one thing I didn't throw into this note, but I can comment because I thought of it after the fact, is when you get down to the last section, you start talking about fining the haulers for violations in 7.5.2. I think it would be fairer to jack up those rates significantly. And instead of 100, 200, 300, that would be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And I would add a fourth category would be, if you get to the fourth point, you should be revoked. Because you obviously don't care what the laws are.
we have to be careful that we keep our penalties within that allowable at 21D. I think we cannot find one, I believe it's $1,000 is the max we can find before it can no longer be considered a 21D ticket. I can look into that further if the board wishes to.
So if it's not 21D, then what? Then how do you enforce it? Because I mean, it's obvious that we can, that there are laws out there that allow people to fine corporate criminals much more heavily than individual violators.
The burden of enforcement is significantly more. It has to go to district courts and it becomes a heavy burden.
But it might be worth the pursuit of the extra cash. So, I don't know if it would be, but I'm just thinking, because it seems like it's unfair that it would be so relatively low for people, for corporate interests, especially if they keep violating the rules.
I don't know, Gus, you'd be surprised how many people don't want to pay $100 fine.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people
We
don't,
had-
but
So the real kicker there is the 7-day suspension.
I mean, that's,
That's a, it's, they get fined, they get slapped in the wrist, and we understand that. But which would it be better off, be consistent with the fine, or set a high bar that ends up getting appealed, and then there's, we end up, fighting this. How much for, you screw up once, twice, 3 times, but after that, we're done. We're not gonna fine you, you're just not going to haul the stuff.
that's what I was thinking. I mean, I have no problem with doing that.
Right, and that was the mindset.
It's 7-day suspension after the third offense, I can understand it. It'll be on after that.
we actually discussed revocation and decided that a 7-day suspension was going to be more, because we did discuss
Effective,
that.
appropriate.
Effective, and appropriate, yeah.
Gus, are you all set?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I know that the director pointed out that you don't even need to have a hearing. But Councilor Steve's just demonstrated, he's given you some great input. So much so that I think you'd rewrite some of this. And what am I commenting on? I don't know. I didn't know that, it doesn't even say we don't know what the regulations are, those of us that are here for that portion of the meeting. So I respectfully implore you to continue this in the future with the regulations available, not because you have to. It's reaching out to the community saying, hey, we want your input, so you get more good ideas like Gus has. I'd like to discuss when this time, because you have something else scheduled for 3 minutes ago, regarding composting. I think if the town can't pay for free composting systems, maybe we can, I'll volunteer to go and seek grants, because composting can really cut down on the waste, cut down on the rodent problem. And I really hope you can continue this at another time. And I'm not gonna I'll belabor the point, thank you.
I'm gonna get to you because we haven't heard from you.
You just kind of stole me. I was asking to see it's a public hearing, but I didn't know. I see the agenda for the regular meeting. I didn't know it was something
That should
we
be
could all
attached
see.
to today's
I just went
calendar.
on the website for the town.
That's
it.
it, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a
I'll just-
website.
Just to see if I can see what you guys are looking at. There's nothing on the website.
No, the draft is on the website. It is on the
Whereabouts?
website.
Health department,
Yeah, we're
down at the bottom.
Yeah, Rick just pulled it up, it's buried on the health department page, it really should be attached to today's calendar entry, which, I don't know how you, I don't know how to
Okay,
play with the website, but that's really where it should be.
all right.
It is on the website, but it's not easy to find.
Kevin, comments or questions?
Yes, comment or question. I hate to suggest this, but similar to healthcare, trash, solid waste regulations are complicated, and I think we've seen that I would have to agree with the others that I don't think this regulation is ready to go move forward. And a question to the board is, if and when this board votes to accept these regulations, do these go through a regular bylaw procedure, or are they considered gospel as soon as you vote?
Board of Health regulations, and you wanna,
Do you want to
The Board of Health gets their authority through the Mass General laws,
Right now.
and the Mass General laws give the Board of Health specific authority to adopt regulation from the board. So it would be a vote of the board, and that would be the deciding vote.
So a vote of the board means, as of the scheduled date of implementation, that's it. This is, it doesn't go for 3 readings at the council meeting.
It does not.
no.
This is a concern of mine, because generally speaking, the 3 readings are there to give the public the opportunity to know what's coming down the pipe. And if these, are these going to be published as bylaws within the bylaw structure?
They are, once they are adopted by the Board of Health, they are included in the Board of Health Code of Regulations, and a copy is submitted to the clerk, and that is where the official records are kept.
There is a code of,
We are developing the Town of Southbridge Board of Health Code of Regulations. Right now, there is youth tobacco in there. There is audio regulations in there. There is the Board of Health fees are in there. And if the board adopts this, this will be
restaurants.
restaurants.
Okay, let's, I mean, we have 2 other hearings that were already passed. So, let me ask, we're not gonna take a, do we need to vote to, do we need to take a vote on whether we're gonna suspend this?
I think that we need to have some of the, look into some of these changes that Gus recommended, and some of the language.
Do you wanna make or just wanna make a motion there to do that,
I make a motion to
postpone?
postpone.
The motion would be to take this under advisement
Yeah.
and continue it to a future date. And you probably want to name a potential future date that we want to do this for consideration of comments that were made today. We probably also want to consider a working meeting again so that we can discuss these instead of having a long and drawn out Board of Health meeting.
Yeah.
Obviously, the working meeting will be open to public continuation with the posted. The board can take these on a one-by-one basis, or however they want to take them, consider what they want to consider, what they don't want to consider, and then move it to a vote at a future meeting.
So I don't wanna,
The motion would be to take under consideration and continue until X.
can that X be named later, because I would like to do the time later.
I would propose that we could schedule it for our next scheduled meeting, and that would be, that's an agenda item, so
Okay.
that would be set.
The next scheduled meeting, you want to do that?
Okay, so I make a motion to, what was it again?
Take under,
To take the comments under advisement and also open it to any comments from the public,
yeah,
to take those into consideration as well, and move to the next meeting.
Right. So if there's other comments people have, just forward them to Andy and we'll put them. All set? That, all right, all those in favor? So, all set. So we'll take that under advisement and we'll incorporate, if many, if not all of what was said here.
We're gonna phone for questions.
7:30, so it is 7:38. Hearing review of Lippy's conditions. You want a quick? Is it long? What are we talking?
It is not.
I mean, what about anyone else that have questions?
What's
Just
that?
because I happen to submit something doesn't mean
Well,
anyone else
no, like
has
Andy
questions.
said, we'll more than likely schedule an open meeting, and if anyone wishes to.
Just with this issue.
Just for these regulations, and if anybody wants to come and sit in on that or have anything they can refer to Andy, any comments or concerns that they might have, that we can take them all into consideration before the next meeting.
So right now, everything that was said was pretty clear that we are certainly not going to be voting the solid waste regulations today. Okay, there's enough changes that need to be made. We don't need to go through all of it right now. We will deal with that entirely at just one meeting.
I failed to mark down when that hearing started. Did anybody recollect the time?
It was
7 past.
just after 7. So,
But is that next, does this,
what's that?
By being a continuation, it means a public hearing actually. Just continue.
but I mean, you've got these regulations here, we have a total policy that has things that's not in the regulation. The other has, the waste thing that I had different things. I'm confused about. What are we talking about?
We're not voting on anything right now.
But I mean, we're looking at this code of regulations.
Right.
We've got a total policy, that things are in that total policy that I have not seen in here. Is that total policy gonna be in the trash?
Is the total policy,
Is that gonna be trash? Did this take its place, or how many rules are we gonna have?
I don't even know what that total policy is.
If you,
Because I mean, it was discussion, for example, in this
I don't even know what that is.
in this thing here, I have a container that follows everything but the size.
that's in the code of,
That's in
the
this
solid
one.
waste regs, yeah.
That's in the new.
Yeah,
My question is, what's the issue with the size? What's the difference if I get 2 bags or not?
Okay, well,
it's,
And it follows everything, but it doesn't, I think it was this one, which you said, Andy, about the homeowner is gonna be penalized for damage.
no.
And I think it was in the
The
total
homeowner will be
policy.
held responsible for the cart, maintenance of the cart. So if.
Well,
the cart becomes
I would
damaged-
just like to say this. I was there today when they picked up my trash container. It has all the things, it has all these hooks, it had 2 lousy little bags in it. They did not pick it up with the side loader that gently does the recycling. They had the clamp on the back of the compactor. They slammed that damn thing so hard that I thought the cover was gonna be ripped off. I don't think I could have hit it harder. How do we stop punishing the homeowner?
guys, you know, I understand, this is a separate issue, how.
But it's all
you
part of this solid waste.
understand, and we are going to have another hearing, we have 2 other hearings. We've heard enough that we will not be voting to adopt the regulations now. Well, that was clear. What you brought up, what other people have brought up, we will consider it. We don't need to hash out those details now. We will have another hearing, and we will try to fix and add and clarify what we need to do in this thing to make it better. So, yes, absolutely.
Enough time for it?
But we just need another time for it. We presented it, there's enough changes that we need to postpone it, have another hearing, listen to people, get more input, change it, and then go. And then we move on from there. But we're not gonna argue the details of this right now. Guys, I'm closing that up, and I just want, what?
No, you're not.
What?
We
Why
are
not?
continuing.
We are
We're not
continuing.
closing the hearing.
I'm sorry, I'm not closing it. I am continuing it to our next scheduled meeting. And I would like to I would like to start the public hearing for the review of Lippy's conditions at 7:43.
That is an option,
Okay. Andy? We,
We sent a request to Mr. Finnegan, owner of Libby's. As you are aware, we
Gus,
asked him,
Gus, can you pick up your,
as a result of the hearing on June 15, 2017 regarding the April 4, 2017 inspection, you are hereby invited to attend a review of conditions set forth by the board at the time and place listed below. Review will be held on Thursday, September 21, 7:30, Southbridge Town Hall, Veterans Meeting Room. In accordance with 105, CMR 5900, the State Sanitary Code, minimum sanitation standards for food establishments, a hearing has been scheduled to hear, witness, and review evidence to determine the merits of the inspection. You have a right to be represented and present witness and offer evidence and/or testimony at this review. You or your agents have the right to inspect and request copies of any records pertaining to this matter. Please direct any request for information to the Office of the Board of Health, 41 Elm Street, Southbridge, Mass. We established a hearing on Lippy's package store regarding conditions observed during a regular inspection or several regular inspections of the property. At the hearing last time, the board, this is a request up here to answer for that. But after hearing, the board set conditions. One of the conditions was that he would report regularly to us on what is going on with a sale and I believe the estate, not the estate, but something of the liquor license, the status of the liquor license. We sent Mr. Lippy a letter to appear today to give us the update as he has failed to notify us of what's going on. He sent the response. I regretfully am unable to appear on September 21, 2017. I will be taking my son to Wilmington, Delaware to meet his shift for his deployment overseas. I am in receipt of your invitation to appear on September 21.